Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and I am joined by a special guest. This is Krazy Joe of MegaPodTastic, CinemaSickness. So I feel like I'm James Lipton introducing you to the Actors Studio. If you meet God in heaven, what would you like to hear him say? Joe, thank you so much for joining us to talk about your Star Wars fandom.
Thank you for inviting me. This is you have a great channel. I love your channel, so this is it's great to be here.
Well, thank you. You have a great channel too, and you're affiliated with a lot of other YouTube ventures as well. So I don't know. I've been following it. Like I'm aware of you got a lot of irons in the fire, is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens, but the funny thing is you mentioned CinemaSickness.
Yep.
And you and I, before we started rolling, I was talking about, I'm pretty friendly with Adam LeWoo. And the funny thing is, I was a viewer of both of them. They were probably the two first guys I ever subscribed to on YouTube. Like, I would watch YouTube, but I would never hit the subscribe button. So it's a little surreal that I actually know both of them now.
Yeah.
And CinemaSickness, it turns out, lived like 40 minutes away from me, and I was watching his videos unaware of the fact that he was local. So...
That's really cool, though.
It's like one day he went out to a thrift store that was in the same shopping center as where my daughter goes to went to preschool at the time, and I was like, I know where he is. So,
and then so you planted yourself there, like for his next pass, and you're just like hiding behind shelves.
Not really. We had many months later, we had a chance encounter at Blobfest. We ran into each other at Blobfest, and that was that. And we've been friends ever since. So
what I think is cool though is that the YouTube community, like our sphere of creators, there is like a communal vibe, and I think that that's really cool. And that's a test. Your story is a testament to that. We're all kind of on the same team.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I quit YouTube for like 5 minutes and I got back into it. And the reason I quit was I was having trouble finding that sense of community. Because I come from podcasting. Podcasting's my background, and a very tight-knit podcasting community. And when I first got to YouTube, other than CinemaSickness, who obviously I had a friendship with CinemaSickness, but other than him, I really wasn't finding that same sense of community. And it wasn't until it started to fall into place that I'm like, God, now I want to do this again. Because without that, it wasn't as fun.
And if it's not fun, what's the point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of fun, we're here to talk about Star Wars. You are representing your fandom in Christmas in holiday form. You got the shirt, you got the hat on. So tell us a little about your Star Wars history. Like, how far back with the franchise do you go?
Wow, as far back as we can remember. I don't know. I'm 43 years old.
Okay.
I don't know if we can call me a first generation fan, or I guess it would be. How long's a generation? About 10 years?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess that would make me, because Star Wars came out 1 year after I was born. 1 year. So I was one. So I did not see Star Wars in the theater in its initial release. I was one. And frankly, if my parents took me to the theater at 1, they would have been jerks, because I would have been crying and disturbing all the other patrons. But I remember somewhere around age 3 being in a Kmart. No, it wasn't a Kmart. It was Clover. You're in Alabama, right?
Yes.
Did you have Clovers in that?
No.
Okay.
But we had Kmart. You had me with Kmart.
Clover was a chain in the Northeast.
Okay.
Similar to a Target or a Kmart. More like a Target, I guess. But it was a local chain. They're not in business anymore. But I remember being in there somewhere around age 3 with my mom and finding an R2-D2 toy. It was one of the big ones. And I didn't know it was R2-D2. I just knew it was a cool robot. And I was begging my mom, get me the robot. I need the robot. And she didn't want to pay for the robot because it was big.
Yeah.
But the lady in the store is like, they have little ones. And I walked out with a couple Kenner action figures, R2, 3PO, whoever else looked cool at that age. I don't know, because I probably wouldn't have bought Luke or Han, because without seeing the movie, they're just people. They probably wouldn't be that interesting to me. The robots were visually like, ooh, look at them.
Yeah.
So then I was playing with them all the time. And one day my dad's like, they're from a movie. Do you want to see the movie? And I guess it would have been, because this would have been around 79, I guess it must have been one of the earliest re-releases is when I first saw Star Wars. And then I saw Empire and Jedi in the initial release. So
Okay, yeah, so you're an original Trilogy Kid. I was born in 79, and I was in the theater for Empire Strikes Back at 1. I was an only child. I was a very well-behaved child. I was not crying.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, but it's true. You go to see like an R-rated movie or something, and someone's brought their child and they're screaming because it's a horror movie. Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah, I just had that happen in John Wick Chapter 3. I'm at a 10 p.m. show of John Wick, and someone had a baby in there crying.
I saw that someone had a baby in You're Next a few years ago, the horror movie You're Next. I was like, oh, guys, bad call. But I did see Empire Strikes Back at 1. I don't remember that experience. I was always more attached to the Return of the Jedi stuff. And I guess I've never told this story anywhere, I don't think, on like a video or anything like that. But my dad used to work in the grocery business, and he had all these friends that were vendors for, like the shampoo guy that would stock he would select what shampoos went into each store, stuff like that. So he knew the guy behind, I don't even know what company made it, but there was a shampoo, it was like a hygiene line for kids in 1983, 1984, shampoo, soaps, and they came in these little bottles that were in the shape of like Luke. I don't think it was like Luke, Han, the droids. And the display shelf that they put in the stores was the styrofoam R2-D2. That was like 4 feet tall, probably. It might have even been bigger than that. So my dad got one of these. We had all the shampoos and stuff. And for years, like as a kid, my record player shelf was R2-D2. It was a styrofoam R2-D2. And it eventually just kind of turned brown and just eroded into nothing because it was styrofoam. But I kind of forgot about that until just now. It was like buried way back in there.
You just brought that shampoo back to me. I remember that shampoo. It was Luke in his X-wing fighter outfit.
Yeah,
and you took the head was the cap. Yeah, yes. They made them for He-Man and Skeletor too. They had He-Man and Skeletor bottles like that.
Yeah, but that stuff wasn't allowed in my house when I was a kid. That stuff was of the devil. But apparently Star Wars was okay. Now I love He-Man. I'm a huge He-Man fan. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so you go back to the original trilogy. You're talking about like the action figures and stuff like that. So kind of just guide us through. Do you have any affection for the Ewoks movies, or am I by myself in my affection?
I do. I pulled all my media off the shelf, and I forgot to grab the Ewok movies. I have them. I got the DVDs here. I got the VHS. I got a beta, the Blu-rays. So
trying to see if my Ewoks movies are within their. I don't think I can reach them. It's top shelf.
I do like the Ewok movies a lot. Actually, I enjoy them, and I'll tell you this. I'm a firm believer that Disney should put those movies out again on Blu-ray or on Disney Plus and just change the title ever so slightly. I think they should put them out as Ewoks, a Star Wars story. Because let's face it, they were the original spin-off movies.
True.
Before Rogue One, because they played theatrically in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, and they gave us the first Mace, because we got Mace Windu in the prequels, but it was Mace and Sindel were the two kids. So we had a Mace way before Mace Windu.
And I heard some fan theories that I don't think are true, but some fans speculated that Captain Phasma was Sindel all grown up.
I like that. I've never heard that before, but I like that.
Except that means Sindel went bad.
Well, hey, if you've seen those movies, there's a lot of death in them all of a sudden, especially the second one. It's like, spoilers for the Ewok movies, but they spend the first movie trying to get their family back, and then at the beginning of the second movie, it's just wholesale slaughter of everybody. Even her brother, right? Yeah. I think the brother bites it too.
I always like the second one better, though. I don't know. It's the magic of Wilford Brimley. I don't know.
And that little puppet guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his name was. Man.
You put a puppet in there, I'm interested. I'm a sucker for the puppet.
Absolutely. Okay, so where should we go from here? What
Yoda puppet right here.
Amazing. Where would you like to go from here? What's guide us through just your fandom. You want to talk about the prequels? You want to talk about where do you want to go?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I went and saw the prequels.
Yeah.
And I remember. I don't know if you can hear it. I have a loud cat meowing at my feet.
Oh.
To this day, I think Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars movie ever made.
Oh.
I really think it's the worst one. But I remember going to see it, and I saw it about 3 times before I could even admit to myself that I didn't like it. There was just too much anticipation there. I think the prequels got better with each installment. I think Revenge of the Sith was the best, and Phantom Menace was the worst. I don't hate Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. I kind of enjoy them, but I still think they're weaker films, because even Revenge of the Sith, which is, I think, the best of the prequels, has lines like our C-3PO saying, well, he's been under a lot of stress lately. And I'm like, really? That's the dialogue? So I don't know. I don't know that my story is much different than anyone else's, because those movies have gotten really beat up upon over the last decade a lot, and I don't think it's fully undeserved, and I don't think it's fully deserved either.
Yeah. No, I noticed that the 90s kids especially, there's a little redemption there for some of those. Well, this is the pattern that I observe, is like something comes out and it's, this is terrible. And then a few years go by and then it's like, this is an unsung gem. It's an underrated gem. We were wrong about this. We judged it too harshly. And then a few years later, it kind of evens out. It's like, it's got problems. I like it. I don't love it. And if it can go the other way too, where if something comes out and it's universally loved, then it's like, this movie's not as good as you remember. I think we even saw that for The Force Awakens. Like, when it came out, so many people were just mad about The Force Awakens. And then like 6 months later, they were like, maybe it's not as good as we thought it was. And then over time, it evens out. We're like, it's good. I like it.
Yeah. The Force Awakens. That's one. So The Force Awakens. I'm going to compare The Force Awakens to a movie that isn't a Star Wars movie.
Okay.
But I saw what I saw happen with The Force Awakens was the same thing I saw happen to Superman Returns. In that people said, "Oh, it's a carbon copy," and it's the same thing as the first one. It's the exact same thing, and then they give you the skeletal structure and say, they hid the plans in a droid, and there's an older mentor who comes back, and then the mentor dies, and it's like, well, yeah, if you boil it down to a skeletal structure, then I guess it's similar, but story-wise, it's a very different movie. The details do make the difference. Mm-hmm. So I saw people do it with Superman Returns too. Oh, he's on Krypton. He comes to Earth, then he goes back to the farm, and then he goes to Metropolis. And beat by beat, and they're like, and then Lex Luthor has a land scheme, and it's like, well, yeah, if you're going to boil it down, but if you're going to do that, then E.T. is the story of Jesus, because he came down to Earth, healed people with his touch, died, came back to life, and then rose back into the heavens. Yeah. But I don't think many people are out there saying E.T. is the story of Jesus. So it's like...
Well, now they will be, because you've just given...
You can do that with anything. Boil it down to the absolute skeletal structure. I don't think it's fair to do that. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I thought it was a big improvement over the prequels. And I got to say... there's been a lot of vocal hatred towards Disney, but I feel like Disney has given me more good Star Wars movies than George Lucas has.
Oh, wow.
Because I would say George Lucas gave me 6 Star Wars movies, and I love 3 of them. Disney gave me 4 Star Wars movies, and I love 4 of them. So, I don't know.
So I guess that's a natural segue to our Last Jedi question, which it seems unavoidable to have a Star Wars conversation and not talk about The Last Jedi. And I know you talked about it recently because you did a Rian Johnson kind of a career overview with Knives Out, which I love that movie, by the way.
Oh, but, that's probably my favorite movie this year. I want to see it again. I don't have time though, but I want to.
I know, I do too. I think it's it's number 2, but we'll see. I'll have to live with it a little bit longer, but. I was a really big fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and of Ready or Not. Not Ready or Not. Ready or Not.
I haven't seen Ready or Not yet. I want to see that. But no, I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But the other big one for me was Shazam. I loved Shazam. I saw Shazam 5 times in the movies.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't get enough of it. I kept going back, and I'm like, this movie is... I'd say it's one of the best superhero movies ever made. I mean, we're tangenting now, but yeah, it's got so much heart and so much. It's funny. It's a good superhero movie. It's funny. It's just got so much heart. You know?
Yeah, it really does. No, I know exactly what you mean. So going back to your Superman Returns thing, I just want to say that does bear out kind of what I'm saying, because now here we are. 13, how many years? It's been like 13 years or so. Yeah. And of course, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and everybody's like, Brandon Routh is back as Superman. 5 years ago, that wasn't the conversation. But
right.
Now, here we are. It's welcome. Time seems to be the equalizer for a lot of these things, but I don't know. Maybe time's not the equalizer for the prequels for some people, because it doesn't seem to have softened anything for you.
It depends. I think I'm pretty consistent, though. Like, I think I'm pretty consistent because, like, I loved Superman Returns when it came out. I thought it was phenomenal. So it's like, I didn't need time to sit on that one. I liked it from the get-go. So, and then there have been movies that I've seen and hated, and I think I should give that another chance. People tell me it's really, really good, and I'll watch it 2-3 times. There's movies I hate that I've seen 2 or 3 times, and people are like, well, why do you keep watching them? I'm like, because I want to see what everyone else sees.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not getting there.
Could you give us, like, maybe just one example, or would you rather not?
One example is Donnie Darko.
Okay.
People love that movie. Yeah. I've seen it multiple times. And then a lot of times the people who love it will say, well, you just didn't get it. It's like, no, I got it. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm married to one of those people that loves Donnie Darko. And they'll be like, don't watch the director's cut. Don't watch the alternate cut. Watch the theatrical cut, because it doesn't spell anything out, and you have to do all the work. That's what they say. Well, the Superman thing, what I like, I could tie this into Star Wars. What I like about the Superman Returns movie is that it had kind of a return to an optimism, that heroic, I don't know, it's ultimately kind of an uplifting movie, kind of what you're talking about with Shazam. Do you see that in the current Star Wars movies? Because the Star Wars movies of the classic trilogy, totally uplifting, totally feel-good movies. Do you think that that's been recaptured, or do you think maybe we're just in a different place?
I'd say they recaptured that. I think they have. I think especially in The Last Jedi. I think the ending of The Last Jedi was just such a hopeful ending, where they were, they're basically beaten at the end of the movie. They're completely beaten. They're in a cave. But the whole thing was, there's still hope. It's not. And then we end on the broom boy. And I know. It's funny, this ties in with Superman again, but people always seem to zero in on the minutia. I hear a lot of people saying, well, the Broom Boy is going to be the star of the next one. He's going to come in and be this. And it's like, I don't think you got the point. He was a symbol. I don't think because I was Superman Returns, people would say, well, you can't do a sequel, because what's going to happen with his son? He's going to have a cape and a little Superboy flying around. And it's like, why does his son have to be in a cape? Can't his son just be a kid that like he's raising? Like, why do we have to take it to that place?
Why are we so literal with this? Yeah. Why do we?
Exactly.
Yep. No, I know. Yeah. It's interesting. That was you're the first person that we've had talking about Star Wars who has. I'm still conflicted on The Last Jedi. I'm going to be honest with you. I wrote like 2 lengthy pieces defending The Last Jedi because, of course, it was like, hounds on like raw meat when that movie came out. It's just like, I hate it. And then, so I wrote these lengthy defenses. And then, I don't know, like 6 months later, I was just like, I don't know, I'm just tired. Like, the whole thing just makes me kind of sad. And even now, when I think about The Last Jedi, I just feel sad. It does, you're right, it does have a hopeful ending. The thing with Broom Boy was super hopeful. I think that I'm still wrestling with the fact that they're killing off all of our legacy characters, and they never had that moment on screen. We never got the Millennium Falcon shot with Han, Luke, and Leia in the Falcon, and we never will. If we do, it'll be digital. So I don't know. It just makes me sad. Does that make sense?
It does. I understand that. Unfortunately, I think their plans got completely screwed up with Carrie Fisher dying.
Yeah.
Because from what I understand, she was going to be the one who took on Kylo Ren at the end. And I don't know what they're going to do. I can't wait to see Rise of Skywalker. I got my tickets already, but I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out, because it seemed like, we lost Han in the first one, we lost Luke in the second one, but did we really lose Luke? Because we know he's not going to, and there's something, I don't want to get my hopes up and write the story before I see the movie, because then that's where you lead to disappointment, because if it doesn't go the way you expect. But I want to see Luke as the Jiminy Cricket on Kylo Ren's shoulder. I want to see Ghost Luke haunting Kylo Ren and being there. You sure you want to do that? Is that a good idea? Because he said to him at the end, he said, like, see you around, kid.
See you around,
right
kid.
Before he disappeared. So I'm like, that is something we've never seen in Star Wars before. We know they have these Force ghosts, but can we get a Force ghost being the conscience of the other guy and saying, I wouldn't do that if I were you? Like, I think that would be really cool. And I don't want to get myself all excited, because if they don't go that route, then I'll just be like...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's fan theories are a tricky thing, because it's really fun to indulge in fan theories, but then you have to leave room for reality, and when they don't happen, you can't get mad and be like, that's not what we wanted. It's this, there's a thing that we see with movies now, well, with everything really, TV, Game of Thrones, if it doesn't end like you want it to end, it's like riots in the streets. It's no longer like, well, that didn't end like I wanted it to, that's not what I wish they'd done. It's like, how dare they, we're gonna petition to do it again and to do it right.
I noticed several years ago, and I'm talking like back when Lost was on TV, I noticed that most popular TV shows, somewhere around the third or fourth season, fans start saying it's not good anymore. It happened with Buffy the Vampire Slayer when she went to college. Like, I heard people with season 4 going, Buffy's not good anymore. I heard people saying with Lost, like when they got to the other side of the island with the others, oh, it's not good anymore. And I came up with a theory. I don't know how right I am on this, but it occurred to me that when you do something new, people don't know what to expect, and they just go with it because they don't know what to expect. But as soon as they start guessing, this is where they're going, if they don't go that way, people aren't happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of the way I take it.
I don't know. I do have I have said, it's funny, I have a conversation video that I'm going to be putting out after Christmas time, I think, where I say on camera, like what you just said, I think most shows have a 4-year life when it's fresh and creative before the cast starts to get restless. Some of them contracts are ending and they have to start renegotiating. It seems like after 4 years, they're like, okay, that's like level 1. Now if we're going to take it further, we have to start reinventing, we have to shift some things around. So what you're saying fits into that, but it's a less negative perspective, which I actually appreciate.
Well, I don't know, maybe I'm hopelessly optimistic.
That's a good thing to be, though. I appreciate it. And I like your idea about I like your fan theory about the Jiminy Cricket aspect too. We've got some crazy theories in this house that I'm hoping Anakin is a part of this movie in some fashion, because they've said everything, like Kylo worships Anakin. Well, he worships Darth Vader. Like, we need some Anakin action. We need somebody to be like he's around theoretically. So
well, I've been saying that actually since The Force Awakens. I know a lot of people hate Hayden Christensen. People are like, no, keep Hayden Christensen away. He's a terrible actor. But I keep saying, if you have a character like Kylo Ren who worships what this guy did, and that guy at the end of his life was like, I had it wrong, and that guy has the ability to appear as a ghost and say, kid, you're on the wrong path. Don't go down the road I went down. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So...
Well, and the only explanations I can think of why he wouldn't are not in universe. They're like Disney mandated because the prequels have a bad taste. People have a bad taste in their mouth for the prequels, and so I feel like Disney's like, let's play it safe. Let's not bring. They addressed the prequels a little bit in The Last Jedi, talking about like Sidious and some of that stuff. But I think that's got to be it. But we need some Anakin because George Lucas always, well, he didn't always say, but he said later that the Star Wars saga is the story of Anakin. It's, the first 6 movies, it's like a fall to darkness and then the redemption through the Son. Well, how can we just throw that out? How do you throw out Anakin altogether? And then J.J. Abrams has, Kylo Ren's talking to the helmet, and he's basically praying to Darth Vader. So they've brought it in. I don't know. Now I'm going to be disappointed if there's no Anakin in the movie, because here we are again. We need Anakin.
I feel like he should be there. Yeah. Story-wise, it makes sense for him to show up.
Yeah, I agree.
But time will tell. A week from now will tell.
Yeah. So. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I can't wait. I get fed up. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there, and I never name names because, quite frankly, I don't want to give them the hits. I don't want someone to be like, I never heard of that channel, let me check it out. So I never name names. But there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that basically make their money on spreading negativity.
Yes.
It's not profitable for them to like something because their audience wants them to hate it. And it's like a train wreck. I shouldn't watch, but I watch, like, what are these guys saying now? And I watched the other day, and they were, like, talking about The Last Jedi, or not The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. And they were like, oh, believe me, we're going to review this movie. And it's like they had already, you could tell the tone of their voice, they were already going in like, this is going to be crap, and we are going to tear this movie apart. And it's like, you haven't seen the movie yet. And you've already decided you hate this. It's like, I will be shocked if I watch your review and you say it's good, because that's not what your audience wants to hear, and you're going to give your audience what they want. They want negativity, you're going to give them negativity. So
yeah, we fight against that all the time. You see it. It's just, it seems to be the internet attitude. It's just like, we'll lead with negativity, we'll tear things down. But that's not what we do. That's not what you do either. I know what you do. That's not what you do. We try to love things. We try to lift up what we enjoy and what we appreciate. And you're right. Negativity is not, it pays. But this is the bold take, man. Honesty, open-heartedness, and I commend you for that. So thank you for continuing to do that.
That's honestly, negativity is where the money is. If you want the viewers, go in saying how bad it's going to be. And one of those guys I once saw start to say something positive. Was reviewing Star Trek Discovery and said, well, this episode wasn't that bad. They did this and this, and then stopped herself and said, oh, you guys are going to kill me for that. No, it was pretty bad. And I'm like, you just changed your opinion because you said your audience was going to get you for it's like, wow, how can anyone take anything you say seriously? There's no integrity there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I mean, I feel like I don't want to end on negativity. We're not ending there, but that positivity, hope for the for the Rise of Skywalker. I have the hope. You have the hope. And I don't know. I think listen, if nothing else, we get to spend some more time with these characters that we love. That more Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, more of the droids. There's a lot to be optimistic about. And
Lando's coming back, man. Lando. I love Lando.
Are you remotely worried they're going to kill Lando, though? Because I am. Don't kill Lando.
They can't. You know what? Everyone's because they killed Han, they killed Luke. Everyone's expecting them to kill Lando. So I think they're going to just surprise us. And I bet you they're going to make us think Lando's dead. And then he's going to walk out like, hey, I was hiding in the cape room.
You get cold 45. There's a rumor that Wedge is in the movie too. That Dennis Lawson came back to reprise his role as Wedge. So that's another one that's exciting to have.
Going back to the beginning, you were asking about how I got started as a Star Wars fan. Let me tell you, I'll take you right back to when I was very young. There was a mass psychosis amongst my friends. It wasn't just me; it was all of us. All of my friends were under the delusion back in like 1980 that Lando Calrissian could fly. We all thought he could fly.
He had a cape.
He had a cape, and his name was Lando. In order to land, he obviously had to be flying. And it wasn't like, and someone said, well, he didn't fly in the movies. Like, didn't that tell you he never flew? And we were like, well, he just wasn't flying then. At that moment, he wasn't flying. That doesn't mean he can't.
And he lived on Cloud City too, way up in the sky.
Exactly. It wasn't just me. It was like everyone in my class. We all thought Lando could fly. And people say, is it because he wore a cape? And I'm like, but Vader wore a cape, and Princess Leia wore a cape, like the action figure had a cape, and we didn't think they could fly. Only Lando. I think it was the name Lando. I think we figured he's got to land because he's Lando, so he's got to fly first. I don't know.
That's amazing. If he doesn't fly in this movie, I'm going to be super disappointed. Lando has to fly.
If he does, I'm going to stand up at the theater and say, I knew it!
Yes! I knew it! And then they can make a spin-off movie called Lando Returns, and it can be the Return of Lando, Superman Returns style, and he can right the wrongs. There it is. It's all full circle, symmetry. I feel like that's a good place to leave it. You feel good leaving it there?
I feel good. I want a Disney Plus series about that.
Yes. Oh, the Mandalorian. You enjoying the Mandalorian?
Love it. Absolutely. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And if you don't like Baby Yoda, you don't have a soul. I said it. That's my hot take.
Yeah. How do people not like Baby Yoda? Like, I know there's the channels that we're talking about that say they don't like Baby Yoda, but I think at the end of the day, when the cameras aren't rolling, everybody loves Baby. Is it possible to deny?
I don't think. My good buddy CinemaSickness gave us a hard time a couple weeks ago and said, it's not Baby Yoda. It's not Baby Yoda. His name's not Yoda. To which I responded, and I gotta give credit. This isn't my thought. This is my friend Dave Perillo's thought. Dave Perillo, who did this T-shirt, by the way.
Nice.
That's my friend Dave's artwork. But he said, how do you know his name's not Baby Yoda? There's more than one baby named Steve in the world. How do you know this baby isn't named Yoda as well?
Yeah, maybe so. We have one. So Yoda is the boy species. There's a Yaddle on the Jedi Council in the prequel. So maybe all the males are Yodas and all the females are Yaddles. And this is a boy, so he's a Yoda. Baby Yoda. Done.
Or maybe the baby doesn't even have a name, and someone's going to look at him and say, hey, he looks like Yoda. Let's call him Baby Yoda.
There you go. I like it. Man, thank you so much for joining me to talk about your Star Wars fandom. And I don't know, this has been a blast. Thank you very much. Tell people where they can find. Just roll off your many affiliations.
Oh well, you can find me at MegaPodTastic on YouTube. You can find the podcast, MegaPodTastic Podcast, which I'm still doing. In fact, right now, I'm taking part in the Dog Days of Advent Podcasting Challenge, which is a different podcast every day until December 25th. So you can find go to wherever you get podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes. Just type in MegaPodTastic, and go to YouTube.com/MegaPodTastic, and every now and then I pop up on the CinemaSickness channel as well.
Awesome, excellent. Well, thank you very much, guys. Let's continue the conversation started in this video in the comments below. Head over to subscribe to Joe's channel, the podcast, all that stuff, and let's just keep the conversation going because we do want to continue that positivity, that open, optimistic look at our fandom. So, Joe, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Guys, thank you very much. Take care, and until next time, we will catch you later.